All right, great. So I bounced around to a few of the groups. I don't know if everyone got finished, but I think everyone got far enough that I feel good about it. So what I want to do is just sort of hear from some folks, like what y'all discussed, what y'all learned about map and find all. So I think what I want to do is the first question that I'm going to ask is, in your own words, what does map do and what is the return value of map? And think about that for a second, and I'm going to call on someone. Brisa. I know Brisa is having some internet troubles. Brisa, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Great.
Perfect. What was your question?
Yeah, so in your own words, or in the words that you and your group used, what does map do?
Map is going to go ahead and it's going to go, it's not like each, but it's going to iterate through each number. And then it's going to go ahead and multiply it by 2. That's my understanding of mapping what is in the array of numbers.
Great. Yeah, in this first example, yep, it's going to go over each number and multiply it by 2. And then I want to continue this discussion and think more about this idea of what does map return. So let's go to Alex. Alex, what did you and your group learn about what map returns?
That it executes the last statement of the block onto whatever were each of the elements of the original collection, and then like throws that out to a new collection.
Cool. Yeah, so it's putting whatever the return value of this block of code is, the return value of this little block of code, that is what gets sent to the new array. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. Map will send whatever the return value of the block is to the new array once for each of the elements that it iterates over. So when you did this example, what was the doubled array? Alex?
It was 0.
Yeah, all zeros, right? 4 zeros to be exact.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so map takes the return value and shoves it into a new array. Yeah. Was anyone surprised by that? Can I get a show of hands? Was anyone like not expecting that? Yeah. When I was first learning this, I was like, well, this is dumb. So yeah, kind of unexpected. But yeah, that's what map is doing. It's taking the return value of the block and throwing it into a new array. And just another like refresher, the return value of any particular chunk of code is going to be the last line of code run. So if we think about this block, the last line of code run is 0. So that 0 is going to be sent to a new array. In this example, the last line of code run is number times 2. So the number times 2 is what's going to be pushed into that new array. So map will give you a new array. It will always be the same length as the original. And it will give you whatever the return value of the block is into that new array. So as we iterate over numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, Ruby is executing all the lines in this block, and whatever the return value of this block is, that is what it gets sent to the new array. Yeah, Joseph, I see your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, Kwa had a good question in the breakout group. He was wondering what happens with the information above it. So it's like, is that stored anywhere? Does it get read, or is it looking at the bottom?
I think I figured that one out too. It's that it's actually being calculated. It's just going to return the last calculated value. Like, so that's why it's only going to return that number times 2, but that 0 is still being calculated. It's just sitting there. So if I want to find out what it's, so I guess more or less you can have like map would just saying that it's just going to iterate over each element, and then you can have it do a bunch of things on the bottom, but then then whatever you want to find out, you put that as the last thing. So I can have it, hey, is it odd? Is it even? Is it multiple? Anything like that. But then just return to me the even. And you can actually see all of this information in one if you want.
Yeah, I would say you're definitely on the right track. The thing that matters for map is whatever this last line of code is. If you need to do some stuff in order to get this last line of code in the block to be what you want, then that's great. What we wanted to show here is just this sort of gotcha piece of it that's not quite expected, that the return value is not necessarily like what is calculated, right? It's because
So it's just
how do I
pretty much
want
just
this?
whatever's printed, like whatever's the last line of the method is that's what it's
Yeah.
going to return. So let's say like I guess the next session is like number dot even, so returns nothing but even. But if I did a number dot odd above that even and I just want to print that out, it would actually return to me, hey, look, it's true false, but what you want is this only the even number in the array. So it's almost as if I'm finding the two information within one method, and I can only, so that's all.
Right, yeah, map is really intended to be used to like do one thing to each element in the array. If you need to do more than one thing, then map is probably not the right choice, right?
Okay.
So if I wanted to ask every number, hey, are you even, and have an array with all the trues and falses of are you even and are you odd, and have that as a different array, I wouldn't use map, because what I really want is two new arrays. I would have to use each in that case. Cool. Other questions about map, or other like weird things that y'all discovered or were confused about after going through this map exploration? All right, cool. Oh, wait, did someone put something in the chat? I am so happy when people have to use each. Yes, it's very validating. All right, cool. So let's run down to find all, and the same sorts of questions. The first question is going to be, now that you've done this exploration, in your own words, what does find all do? Tommy, in your own words, what does find all do?
In my own words, find all returns an array based upon the argument that you put in the block. So in this particular instance here, it's going to return an array of 2 and 4 because both of those are true based upon what you pass through.
Cool. I like it. Let's pull on this a little bit more. Jenny, how does find all know what is going to be in the resulting array? How does find all know what is going to be in the resulting array? Sorry, Jenny B. We have more than one Jenny. We have so many doubles in this cohort. I love it.
It returns the last statement that was evaluated. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, I think you're answering what I'm asking, and you're getting close. You're getting close. I like it. There's something going on with the last line of the block of code. So just like map, there's some trickery happening here with this last line. Joseph, do you want to expand on that or say more things?
Yeah, find all is going to return all the elements based on the condition.
Okay. What do you mean by based on the condition?
That return true based on what the conditional is.
Okay, that return true based on what the condition is.
And
Great, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, I like it. Let's go to Trevor. Anything you want to add to that? Do we have a Trevor R?
Which, sorry, I didn't know for sure.
That's okay.
So in this case, it's going to find, because they're all truthy, it's going to find all of them is true. And wait, is that what we're talking about? Sorry, I got lost for a second there.
That's okay.
Other one.
I like the words that you're using.
So yes, that's going to it only takes the last part of that and it's going to apply the true to everything.
Cool. Yeah, I really like this like truthy idea that you had. I think I want to play around with this one a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, let me go ahead and just copy this. This is one that this will trip you up. That's not what I wanted. Sorry, my command key is sticky, so sometimes it doesn't always get what I want it to do. Yep, come on, you can do it. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and throw this in here. Let me go to my terminal. Okay, cool. So if I run this Ruby enums, I get all of the numbers. So why is this happening? Let me check the chat real quick. Yep, okay, cool. So with find all, when we learned about find all, we learned that we can send find all some sort of conditional statement, like if this number is even, I do want this number in the resulting array, right? But, oops, oh geez, oh my goodness. Struggling today, y'all. But when I run this, I'm getting all of the numbers. And it's exactly what, who was just speaking? Trevor and Joe and Joseph and Jenny. It's what y'all were alluding to. It's really the last line that matters to a find all. And what matters about this last line is whether or not it's truthy. So what find all is saying, or what find all is doing is as, let's see, where do I want to put this note? So as find all iterates over each element, it will return that element if the block is truthy. If the block is truthy. So if the return value of this block is truthy, then find all says, yep, this must be the number that you are looking for. Okay, so if the return value of the block is truthy, find all assumes that that is the number that you want. I see you, Andrew. Let me say one more thing. I just want to like hit home this idea of truthiness. I think that we learned about this maybe on Friday, but truthy is anything other than false or nil. So if instead of having the return value of this be true, if I make it the string true, I will still get all of these numbers because a string is truthy. If I make the return value of this block 0, I will still get all of the numbers because in Ruby, 0 is truthy. If the return value of this block is false, I will get none of these numbers. Okay, so this is a thing that is confusing. Find all will give you the element that it's iterating on if the return value of the block is truthy. Where this really gets you is if you have to check something like, if you do something like this, number.even equals true. Okay, cool, this is like valid. What happens though sometimes is instead of doing this, sometimes, oh gosh, this isn't like a great example of this, but instead of doing a comparison with a double equals, sometimes we accidentally forget that double equals and do something like this. and try to assign a value instead of comparing it on accident. And the return value of assigning a variable is the value that you're trying to assign to it, which is almost always truthy. So this is a very common mistake that we see students doing, where they're like, my find all isn't working. Why isn't it working? Because we're not comparing, we're trying to assign here. I think this will actually give us an error, but yeah. Anyway, that's my big long soapbox about find all. There's some very confusing pieces about it. Andrew, did you have a question?
Yeah, so it applied to what like Qual was talking about earlier. So if I was messing around with like one similar to this with the number dot even and then true underneath it, so if we changed like the array to be like true, false, and we were trying to find which ones are truthy, it gives us an error because it can't, it is trying to run that first line of code like number dot even. And so like those lines of code and those methods we call like above whatever the last line is still have to run, or else it won't work, right? So you can't just put whatever in there and then expect it to run the last line.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. So all of these lines of code will be run. It's the last line that really matters. So if I change these to be something other than numbers, like you said, like true, false, whatever, it is going to, find all is going to run every line of code on this. So when we iterate over true and it tries to call true dot even, it's not going to like that. It's going to say, yep, undefined method even for true.
Can you go change the array back to 1, 2, 3, and 4? And then in line 3, just say p number dot odd question mark, and then line 4 number dot even. And can you run that and get rid of everything in the bottom there? Sorry. Can you run that for me, please?
I will run it. I want everyone to just think in their heads, like, what do we think that is going to happen? Just take like a few seconds to think, what do you think is going to happen?
This is fun.
And let me clear this out. And this is what happens. So yeah, so we run this p number dot odd for everything that we iterate over, and then the return value is just 2 and 4. Jesus, I see your hand up.
So going back to the original setup that we had of number dot even and then true in the bottom, we were playing around with this code a little bit in the breakout room, and we added the element false to the array. And for some reason, it still was printing out false, like with everything else. Do you mind like explaining what
So
that
like
happened?
this?
Yeah. So like when you run that, it'll be 1, 2, 3 and false as well. Oh, I mean uncomment even. Sorry, uncomment the line number dot even.
Yep. So, and this is a great example of what find all is doing. So find all iterates over each number, or iterates over each element in the collection. So when it's iterating over the number 1, it says, okay, if my block is truthy, that means that you want this element in your resulting array. So for 1, okay, cool, I'm returning true. So I'm going to send that 1 to the array. For 2, I'm going to return true. Okay, I'm going to send that to the array, et cetera, et cetera. And when we get to false, it says, okay, I'm iterating over false. The return value of my block is still true. So you must want this element in your new array. So yeah, this can get a little bit, this is some trickery for sure.
I'm sorry, could you maybe repeat that slightly differently?
Yes. Let me do this. So let me put a comment in here. So return the element if this block is truthy. So find all is going to return the element that we are on. In this case, our element is called number. Return the number if this block is truthy. So I'm going to throw a pry in here, and let's walk through this. There we go. Okay, so let's walk through it. So right now I'm here on this pry on line 5. So my number that I'm on is 1. The block that I'm going to run is just this true. And oops, oh geez, hold on, I just messed myself up here. Let me run this again. Let me make this a little bit bigger just so we can see it all. Where do I want this? Go down here. There we go. Okay. All right, there, that's easier to see. So we're inside of this find all, and we want to return, or I should say we want to push this element, push the element to the return array if this block is truthy. Okay, so this block, when I run it, will return true, and true is truthy. It's not false or nil, so it is truthy. So in my returning array, I'm going to get this number that I'm on right now. Okay, cool. I've done that for the first element of the array. So now in my second element, my number is 2. The return value of the block is true, so that's truthy. So I'm going to push this element into that new array. And I'm going to keep doing that for all of my elements. Oops. Exit number, we're on 4, exit, and now our number is false. Remember, number is just what we're calling each element in the array as we iterate over it. So the element that we're looking at, number, is false. The value of that element is false. But we still take whatever the return value of the block is to determine if we want that element in our resulting array. So the return value of this block is still true. So we're going to take that whatever element we're on, which in this case is false, and push that into our new array. Does that make sense? Does that help? Yeah, this is tricky. Yeah, Chris.
So does just want a clarification. So nil and false are more like mostly just important within the block. If they're in an array and we have true in the block, they would still both be returned, right?
Yes, because find all doesn't care at all what these elements are. What find all cares about is what is the value or what is the return value of my block. If it's truthy, I'm going to take whatever element I'm on, no matter what it is, and push it into the new array. If the return value of my block is falsy, so either false or nil, then I'm going to take that element, I don't care what it is, and it's just, I'm not going to put it anywhere. I'm going to move on to the next thing. Okay. I think I want to leave this here. I'm sure there's still a little bit of confusion around this, and that's okay. But I think it's important to at least hear this sort of thing once and like start thinking about this. But I think we're going to leave the find all discussion here for now. Let's see, it's 9:56. Oh my gosh, we've been going for way too long without a break. Let's go ahead and take a bit of a longer break, and let's come back at 10:05. So we'll come back at 10:05. And I will pause the recording. Okay, great. So before our POM, we did quite a lot of sort of review and sort of digging into map and find all, and hopefully deepening our understanding of those two enumerables. It probably will not surprise you for me to say that I will always put more emphasis on deepening understanding of more basic methods and less emphasis on learning fancy new methods. So That's just how my brain works. But we are going to learn some new things, or maybe also this will be review for some folks as well. But we're going to dive into learning now about min and max, which are both enumerables, min by and max by, which are both enumerables, and sort by, which is also an enumerable. I believe that most of you, if not all of you, have seen sort by. I'm pretty sure Mike and Sal showed that in our last one. So that's what we're going to do next. So to start us off, I am going to, I'm going to copy a little chunk of code from the lesson and paste it in here. And I would love for someone to walk me through this code snippet that I've just pasted. And I'm going to use my handy dandy little student picker. And oh my gosh, not only are there two Jennifers, they're also both Jennifer B. How have I not noticed this yet? Love it. Other Jennifer B. Can you please walk us through this code snippet?
I can stumble through it and try.
I love it. Stumbling is the best starting place.
I apologize ahead of time. This is not my strongest suit.
It's okay.
So on line 3, it's going to.
Wait, what happened on line 1?
Sorry, there's an
You're doing
array of numbers.
Cool. Great.
Line 2 is, let's see, calling nums first, assigning greatest value of nums first. So your greatest is going to equal 1 because it's pulling the first out of the array nums.
Excellent.
And then line 3 is iterating through the nums array. If the number is greater than 1, then that is going to replace 1 as the greatest number.
Great.
That was fun. Please don't call me on me ever again. I'm just kidding.
Lucky for you, you will not be called on again until everyone else has been called on, at least this morning.
I'll probably break
have a
the
whole new
program.
system this afternoon.
Gonna call on me next. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that was great. I love it. So we've got an array of nums. We're assigning the first number to a variable of greatest. And then as we iterate over each number, we're seeing if that number is greater than the greatest, then let's reassign our greatest to be that whatever number we're on. And then we move on and do it all again. So we iterate over each of these and end up with hopefully 9 as the greatest number. Let's double check. Great, excellent. I'm about to use great so many times, it's gonna lose all meaning. Okay, cool. So this is one way that we could figure out what is the largest number in an array. But there is another way that we could do this. And I'm actually going to comment this piece out now. And I'm going to say greatest is equal to nums dot max. And let's see what happens. 9. Sweet. I want to know what is different between this greatest and this greatest. What is different between these two greatest calculations? And I'm going to call randomly on a Chris. Chris, what looks different about these two solutions?
I mean, nums max looks like it's just looking for the greatest number out of the array, when the other solution was comparing it to 1 for each number in the array.
Cool. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, maybe I should take a step back and explain sort of why this is here. So this is a fairly common programming problem, is to find like the the greatest or the largest or the smallest or the somethingest of a group. And the way that we have to do that is by comparing each one against some baseline. And so when we need to do that, we need to have a starting point, a starting comparison. So we started this with just saying like, let's just start assuming that this first one is the greatest, and we can compare each one of these against either that or the one that has become the new greatest. So when we start at 1, the first thing we do is compare 1 to 1. And it's like, nope, 1 is not greater than 1. So we'll keep greatest as 1. And then we look at 3 and we say, okay, is 3 greater than 1? Yes. Okay, now greatest is equal to 3. Okay, then we go to 9. Is 9 greater than 3? Yes. Okay, now 9 is greatest. Then we go to 2. Is 2 greater than 9? Nope. 9 remains the greatest. Then we go to 5. Is 5 greater than 9? Nope. 9 remains the greatest. So that's sort of a pattern that you'll see. Like not all the time, but you'll see it again. You might also see something like greatest starting at like 0, maybe. I don't know, if you know for sure that none of your integers are less than 0, you might start there. But generally, you'll see the comparison start at the first element in the array. I feel like give me just a sec. I think I need to switch to a different, I think I need to switch my Wi-Fi. Hold on just a sec. Now it's, okay, can you all hear me? It's telling me my internet was unstable. And now hopefully it is better. Okay, let's see, where did I cut out? I don't know. Okay, well, yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep moving on. Yeah, Andrew, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. Maybe
No, it's okay.
you said this when you were doing robot voice, but does Max address this problem that you're talking about in terms of greatest? It just circumvents all logic. Okay.
Yeah. Under the hood, Max is doing something like this. So yeah, it's like doing all of this for us.
That's what I thought, but just want to make sure.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Doug, do you have a question?
Does Max work on like an array of strings, or is that strictly a number thing?
Great question, and we are going to get to that right now, maybe? Yeah, let's get to that right now. Let's do that. Let's see. I want to look at my notes, make sure I'm not skipping over. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, what if we were trying to like do this comparison on some strings? So let's change this. Let's call this, let's do like Megan. Let's see, we've got an Angel, and I see Jenny, and I see a Will. Okay, cool. And then let's call these names. And let's see, what is names.max? I want y'all to think for a second about what you think is going to happen. When I run names.max, what name are we going to see? Think to yourselves for just a second. And let's run it. Will. Expected? Unexpected? Shocking? Yeah, this is interesting. So one thing that you'll notice, actually, let me ask this in the form of a question. What is different about Max than any of the other enumerables that we have taught you so far? What is different about Max than some of the other enumerables that we've taught you so far, Angel?
To me, they don't have a block variable or a block.
Yeah. We're not giving it a block variable, nothing. We're just like calling max. So like, how do we know what is happening in here? Ugh. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of just told you because this is what's happening under the hood. It's seeing if something is greater than some baseline. So the interesting or uninteresting piece, one interesting piece about this is if we drop into pry, if we compare like A to B to see if the string A is greater than the string B, it is not. If we compare the string D to the string A, it is bigger. Ugh, why? I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But if we compare the string like Megan, is Megan greater than Will? False. I'm not going to go into the rabbit hole of how exactly Ruby is comparing these strings, but it's not by length. That's really the thing that we've got to understand. It's not by length. There's some other comparison going on here. It doesn't really matter too much what that comparison is. Yeah, Regina, did you have a question?
Oh, well, you said you don't want to go into it, but my brain is like, is it like, it seems to be alphabetically? I don't know, but I mean, no.
I'm not
It was
sure,
just
to
a
be
guess.
honest.
Just a
I would
guess,
have to
I
dig
guess.
into it. Yeah, there's some value. It's probably something with the ordinal value.
Because if D is coming back true as greater than A, D is further in the alphabet than A, but like Will is the one that came back as max for the names, and W is later in the alphabet. I don't know.
Could be.
Okay.
I would say if this is
I'm
a
just
thing that's
talking.
like really boring a hole in your brain, write down a note to research this a little bit more. There is some rhyme or reason to this. I don't know exactly what it is. Did I see another hand come up? I don't see it anymore. Okay, cool. So yeah, the key piece here is that Ruby has some way of determining if a string is greater than, and that determination is not usually what we want. Whatever the determination is, it's not that useful. I will say that like in my 3+ years of programming and teaching and doing the things, I have never needed to dig into why this is the case because this particular problem has never come up. So take that with whatever size grain of salt you would like. It's just important to know that max is not going to like compare a string by length. Similarly, min is not going to compare a string by length. So if we ask for like the min of these names, it's not going to be, oops, that's not what I wanted. Not pry, just want to run this. Cool. Maybe it's alphabetical. I don't know. We could look into it, but I don't want to. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about with max and min? I think that's it. I think generally max and min is like pretty straightforward, maybe-ish. Big thing to recognize is like max and min do not take a block. Max, min, no block needed. I'd like y'all to think just for a second about other enumerables that you know of that might not take a block. So think individually for just a second. Do you know of any other enumerables that do not take a block? Think to yourself for just a second. And then if you know of another enumerable that does not take a block, go ahead and throw it in the chat, in the Zoom chat. Cool. I see first. I see count and length, sort, built-in methods, length, sort. Ooh, zip. Even. Any? Okay, I like it. So of the one, ooh, upcase. Tricky. Yes, that is accurate. Okay, cool. So yeah, I want to just touch on a couple of these. Yeah, first, I believe is an enum. I'd have to double check, but I think that that's right. Sort. Sort is an interesting one. Sort is an enum that does not take a block, but there is an enum that sorts things that does take a block, and that is sort by. So sort and sort by, two different methods, both enums. Sort does not take a block. Sort by does take a block. The next one that I want to touch on is length and count. Length is actually not an enum. Interesting. Length is not an enum. Count is. Count is an enumerable that can either take a block or not. So I could like count equals names dot count. I could do that and put count. Cool. I could also count, do name, let's see, name dot length greater than 3. So I could tell it to count all the names that have a length greater than 3. So count is an interesting one because it could take a block or it could not take a block. Trickery. Let's see. Oh, and then it's because of this, it's because count is an enumerable that length is the faster way to figure out the size of an array. If you just care about strictly the number of things that are in an array, length is slightly faster than count. Fun fact. Let's see. Yeah, another good one in here is, where did I see it? Oh, maybe I didn't see it. But another fun one is sum. Sum is an enumerable that may or may not take a block. Cool. Yep, all cool things. Great. Yeah, unique. That's a good one. That's an enumerable that does not take a block. Okay, cool. So sometimes enumerables don't take blocks. Okay, that's all I needed to say about that. Any questions about this idea of like min, max, enumerables without a block? Any questions so far? Okay, cool, great. Okay, so we talked about min and max can work without a block, or do work without a block. But what if I do want to actually get like the name with the like most characters? What if I want to get the longest name? In that case, I can't use max. I need to use something more specific. So I actually want to use max by and say, I want the max by a specific characteristic. So the max by a specific characteristic. And that characteristic is going to be length. I want the length of this string. And so I can run this and we get Megan. That's interesting. So if I want the max by a specific characteristic, I need to use max by. And one thing, let's see, let's have like a little, let's think about this. So when I ask for the max by the name.length, I get Megan. Why did I not get Angel, or Jenny? Why did I not get Angel or Jenny? Think to yourselves just for a minute. Why do I get Megan? Why did I not get Angel or Jenny? Harrison, why did I get Megan? Why not Angel or Jenny?
So I think it has something to do with the code we wrote up above where it sets it like equal to greatest. And since Megan is
Yes.
5, when it compares it to Angel, which is also 5, it's not greater than or equal to, it's just greater than. So it just
Yes.
keeps Megan.
Yes, exactly. Beautifully put. Yeah, so if we look back up at the each pattern of this, if I were going to rewrite this, I would say, so I would do something like names.first, names.each do, if name, I guess I need to rename this to name dot length is greater than the greatest dot length, then greatest equals name. And so yeah, just as Harrison said, the first thing we do is set our initial greatest to Megan. And since neither Angel nor Jenny are greater than 5 characters long, Megan remains the longest name. So another interesting piece about this, it's going to get the first max, the first max by. If we had, let's see, oh, if we had like Harrison in here, oh, Zoom is covering this up. Now we will get, oh, shoot. All right, Jesus, you're up next for whatever question comes next. Now we'll get Harrison. Questions about this? All right, cool.
Can I ask one question real quick?
Yes, of course.
If our names array had like a multiple of the same name, and we wanted to return the name that appears the most, would we have to do a separate calculation in the block to do like name.count, or like name dot for each one, like add like an instance of 1 to it and then calculate that at the end, or is there like a shorthand to do that?
Is there a shorthand? There might be a shorthand, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Okay, so you have to like write out code to like, I guess, make a hash and like count them in that way.
Probably.
Okay.
I would have to do some more research. Yeah, but probably. I would just use each because my name's Megan and that's what I do.
No particular reason I'm asking that. Like it wasn't a question we had on something.
Okay, cool. I want to, let's see, we've been going, yep, I want to show this and then we'll take another quick break. Yes, okay. Let's say, I'm gonna just get rid of this. I want to grab some code from our lesson here. I'm gonna write some really unattractive code and I'll tell you what I believe is unattractive about it. Let me just do some copying. I'm copying this directly from the lesson in case you're wondering where I'm getting this. Okay, cool. All right. So what I don't love about this code right now is that I've got a class defined and I also have some like executed code in the same file. Not great, but I'm just using this as an example, as a learning tool. But generally we don't want to have executable code in our class files, but that's okay. We're just going to go with it now for now, because I want to show what this would look like if instead of iterating over a base data type like a string or an integer or something like that, how this works with like full rich objects, like instances of classes. So if I wanted to get the person who is oldest of these 3 people, so I want to get the person who is oldest. And actually, before I show this, I want you all to sort of try and think through this on your own as well. So maybe like off to the side, write down what you think this code might look like. So like, how can I return the oldest person using an enumerable. So let's just think individually about this for a couple of minutes, maybe like 90 seconds. And Jesus, you are going to be the person that I call on first. So just a heads up, because I accidentally pulled your name already. So let's think how, based on what we know so far, how could we get the oldest person out of our new people array? And let's take just another 30 seconds to think about it. All right, Jesus, what do you think? What do you have written down? What did you think about? And if you don't know, that's okay too. We're
I
just
would
learning.
use max by.
Great, I love it. We're going to use max by.
So we can set up a variable so we can print it out so we can see it. So go ahead and do oldest equals max, or sorry, people that max by do pipes. And then inside the pipes, we're gonna put person.
Right.
And then go ahead and do next line end so that we know that. Okay, inside of 20.5. Okay, and there do person dot age.
Great. And then we can try and print
Yeah,
out the
print
oldest. Excellent. I love it. All right, let's run this and see what we get. Where's my terminal? There it is. All right, cool. And we get Scarlett, the instance of Scarlett, who is 9, and that is the oldest person. Yay! Great. Yes, this is not each. That's okay. Any questions about this little chunk of code? I think the important thing to note here is when we iterate over instances of objects, this element is the whole person object. And that whole person object knows all the methods that we've defined for them. So that person knows age, name. We can do things like this. Yeah, Doug.
This just may be terrible code, but out of curiosity from a like how things work, could you call person.age in your pipes? Does that even work, or does that?
It does not work.
Okay.
No. Yeah. In the pipes here, what we're doing is we're setting a variable, kind of like when we set variables as arguments. We're saying, I am going to need to refer to something inside this method, and this is how I would like to refer to it. So it's, you know, kind of like how here name is sort of like equals to like TBD, to be determined. I'm going to send this in somewhere, at some point later. Like just like wait for it. It's coming in. It's the same kind of thing that we're doing here. We're saying like this person is going to be like each of these elements, like just like sit here and wait to be assigned. So this is, we are declaring a variable here. We're declaring a variable that will be, it's like going to be like person is now going to equal people at index 0. And then the second time we go through, it's going to be equal to people at index 1. And the third time it's going to be people index 2. Great question. Jordan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could use, I'm not sure if you have to iterate through people or not, or is it possible to go like oldest equals people brackets, and then the symbol age, and then dot max.
Oldest equals.
Yeah, oldest equals people, and then
Yep.
bracket age with the symbol age, sorry, with the colon in the front age, and then dot max.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. This will not work.
Yeah.
But what I want you to think about is, what do you think my error is going to be? So what do we think the error is going to be here? See if you can make a guess in your head of what the error is going to be. And then let's run this. No implicit conversion of symbol into integer. Ew. To be honest, that is not the error that I was expecting. I was expecting something like undefined method brackets for class people. So this is a fun exercise, right? Trying to guess what you think Ruby is going to do. I think it actually teaches you a lot about how Ruby actually like does stuff. So like, I wonder if we take the max off, if, oh yeah, it still doesn't like that. So it's not a super helpful error, but what's happening here is people is an array. Oh, I see what's happening here. So people is an array, and you're trying to access it at an index of age, but indexes will only be integers. Arrays don't have indexes that are symbols. So it's like Ruby is trying to convert, Ruby's trying to be helpful and ending up not being helpful at all. Ruby's trying to convert this symbol into an integer, and that conversion is not working. That's the error that's happening here.
Could you throw like a 2i on it or something, or would that not get you anywhere?
I don't know. What I will say is, yeah, 2i does not work for a symbol. Yeah. What I would say is you don't want to do this. This is not doing the thing that you expect. The only thing you can do with brackets on an array is access a specific index value. So if I look at this and I can see that Scarlet is the oldest, so I could just grab like people at index 1. Yeah, that's the oldest, but it's not like very reusable. What if I add another person in here who is, what if we have like another Stella who's 12, right? Now this is no longer the oldest person, but this would still continue to get the oldest person, even if I start adding additional folks in here.
So if people is a hash, if that was a hash instead of an array, would that maybe work? Maybe that's a different question for somewhere else, but.
I think that's a different question, but I'm gonna go with no for now. It's a different question. Remember that with a hash, if you ask for the age, you're looking for a key that is called age. And if I made this like, yeah, I'm gonna say no. There's a way that you could create a hash where this would get you the correct person, but that hash would look like utter nonsense. Yeah, Jake.
Just for fun, can we change like Scarlet's age to also be 12?
Sure. All right, cool. So we've got Sophia, Scarlet, Stella, and Stella 2. So let's see, who do we think is going to be the oldest? Scarlet. This goes back to, remember when we had the names and we were looking for the lengths? We're going to get the first longest. We're going to get the first oldest person. Because Scarlet and Stella 2 are the same age, Stella 2 is not older than Scarlet, so she is not the oldest. The first oldest is the person that matters. Yep, great question. All right. Let's see, we've already talked about sort by, so I don't really care about that. Okay, the last one that I will talk about today is the enumerable all question mark. So there is a situation where you might need to figure out, are all of the people older than 3? Maybe I need to figure out if all of the elements in an array meet a certain criteria. I just want to know, true or false, do all of these things match a specific criteria? Are all of these people older than 3? And to do that, I can use the all question mark enumerable. And here we can give it some condition. Are they all older than 3? All non-toddlers. I don't know. I don't know things about kids. Are toddlers 3? I don't know. Whatever. So I can ask my people array, hey, are you all age greater than 3? And this will give me back a true or false. So true. If I asked, are you all older than 5? It will give me back false. So just a reminder that when you see this question mark at the end of a method, it indicates that that method should return either true or false by convention, not by the rules of the universe. Questions about this all? While you think about questions, the opposite of all in Ruby is any. Are any of the people older than 3? Yes. Are any of the people older than 30? No. Yeah, there's also, Kwa, to your point in the chat, there's also a none question mark enumerable. I've never used it. I have used any and all, but I've never used none. Yeah, any question mark will return a Boolean, so it will be either true or false. Cool. What would I use instead of none? All, maybe, or any, I don't know. I've never been in this situation. All right. That is what I would like to cover on these enumerables. If you look at the very end of the lesson, I don't need you to do this for homework. You do not need to do homework, but if you want to practice some enumerables that are like going to be similar to what we did today, in the enums directory of your Ruby exercises, you could work on these. At the end of a lot of the lessons, by the way, there are these like suggestions. I don't know if we've actually ever explicitly said that, probably not, but there you have it. So yeah, these are some of the things that you could do. That's at the very end of this lesson. Yes, I think that is all I want to do for now. Any last questions about enumerables in general? Okie dokie. Let's go ahead and let's take a bit of a longer break, but we'll still start the next lesson. Late. Yeah, I forgot to tell you in my brain, I did not think the next lesson was going to take very long. So that's why I went much longer in this. because I think enumerables are very important. So that's, yep, that's what was happening in my brain. So let's go ahead and take a palm and let's start back up again at 10:55. 10:55, we will start up again. 10:55, and I'm going to stop recording.